if you look at me now as a freelance writer and what I do and compare that to, let's say, month 5 as a brand new freelance writer, you're going to see that I have 10 things that I quit to make more money as a freelance writer. I'm not doing those things that I did back in the day. If you want to, I don't know, quicken your process or streamline your process or find some new strategies, pay attention to the 10 things that I quit to make more money as a freelance writer. Biggest thing that I stopped doing and I quit cold turkey was my mindset. I had to switch from thinking that my writing is a commodity to my writing is valuable. I also had to view myself not as an employee, but as a collaborative partner. Those two things, that I have valuable content, it's not a commodity, and that I'm a collaborative partner, not an employee, were like essential to gaining more clients, having more confidence, and like actually being successful at this. I didn't realize that I was viewing my writing as a commodity, but if I was chasing the rates on these, like on Upwork, or back in the day it was Odesk, and I was looking like, oh my gosh, all these writers, I have to compete with them. So I might as well just charge 3 cents a word, because like there's no way I'm going to get these gigs. That mindset is a commodity mindset. You don't want to fall into that trap. Instead, you want to position yourself as a writer that has valuable content that you can add to a business to make it better, that your writing will improve their business's overall ROI, their overall whatever bottom line. Okay. You need to believe in that. And that's hard for a lot of new writers. It was hard for me. I didn't learn that back when you saw me in 2014. I probably learned that many years later, but I want you to learn it faster. That's why I'm sharing this with you. Now, the next thing, you probably won't believe that I quit, and you probably think that I shouldn't have quit, but I did. And that is handing in my work on time. I quit that. I do not hand my work on time. And you might be thinking, well, geez, Elna, if a client tells you it's due in 2 weeks' time, you need to give it to them in 2 weeks' time. Well, I do. I do give it to them, but I don't give it to them on the day that it's due. I just submitted a post the other day, and it's supposed to be due, if today, let's say yesterday was Monday, it was supposed to be due on Thursday. I gave it to them on Monday. Okay. I pride myself in exceeding deadlines all the time, ever since I started. Right. I want to be that writer that surprises clients, that makes it easy for them to always pick me. All right. And I've had that time and time again. Clients have told me you're one of my favorite writers, or clients have said that I have no hassles with you because I lower the barrier of everything. I get the content brief. I write the post. I don't ask too many questions, and I submit the work earlier than expected. Beautiful. That's something that I quit. I mean, I probably on my first client, did that. And then I realized, like, why do I have to give it to them on the day that it's due? Like, I don't want that. I'd rather have it a day earlier. So I started playing with the day earlier. And then that turned into days and maybe weeks earlier. And what's so funny is that I hire writers. I have other projects, my personal passion projects that I have writers. And over the years, I have hired different writers. And it's funny how some writers value that and others don't. I've had writers where it's due on the 12th and it's already 1:00 in the afternoon and they still haven't given it to me. I have to email them, say, oh, it's due today. What's going on? And they tell me, well, it's not the end of the day. Oh my gosh. Why would I want to get a content piece at 10:00 at night? I can't work on it on that day. I have to work on the next day. I found that so backwards. There's no way this writer can be successful if that's what they're thinking. They're going down to the hour. You don't want to leave your article writing to the last minute. All right. There is a process to your client pieces, and you have to set internal deadlines. And that's what I do. I set my internal deadlines weeks before, and I scramble and I work myself hard to get that done. I've also worked hard on writing faster. I can write now 3,000 words in one sitting. I can get the writing done. It's the research that is a little bit, lengthy. And that takes a bit more time. But I set that all up. I know what the deadline is if they give me a deadline, and then I can work backwards from there. Fortunately, there are clients out there. I have one client that doesn't give me a deadline. It's just due when it's due. But I'm not going to like wait 3 months to give it to them. I know that they probably want it in that month. So I'm going to give it to them in that month. That's something that I quit, and I think you should quit too. The next thing I quit to make more money as a freelance writer was to stop obsessing over other new writers. I remember when I first started, I really looked at all the other writers and I was jealous of them, envious of them. I developed anxiety because I just learned about this writer and look at where she's written. She's written in all these places. Wow, she has a thriving LinkedIn profile, a Twitter profile. I was starting to get a little bit anxious over this because I was just focusing on all these writers. Oh my gosh, there's no way I can compete with them. There's no way. Why? How am I going to get a job when they're everywhere? I had to learn to just keep my head down. And, it gets a little bit harder as the years goes on because I am very versed in the freelance writing industry, copywriting industry. I know all the other copywriters. I know when there's a new one that crops up and I can see how fast they're growing. And so I have to remember, keep your head down. You have your own clients. You have your own business. You're thriving yourself. Don't worry about anybody else kind of thing, right? As a new writer, you're going to be faced with a lot of other writers that have been doing this for years. Realize that they are on chapter 21 and you're on chapter 2. You need to keep your head down and work so that you can start getting up there, chapter 10, chapter 12, chapter 21, right? You're not there yet. So don't pay attention to those types of writers kind of thing. The next thing I quit to make more money as a writer was to stop taking low-paying gigs. This was an easy thing to quit. In the beginning, I undervalued myself. I didn't know how much to charge. A lot of clients just told me what their rate was, and I didn't know if it was good or not, and I took it. Fortunately, my first gig paid me 10 cents a word. Right. So I was fortunate. I didn't get someone that paid me 3 cents a word. My first real job as a freelance writer paid me 10 cents a word. Now I say real because before that I was on these freelance platforms. I was on content mills. And so I think I got paid $1.30 for 5 hours of work. So I don't consider that the real freelance writing jobs out there. No, but the first one that I actually pitched to, that I saw a job ad for, and they hired me was for 10 cents a word. And at that point, I was like, okay, that's great. I'm going to work my way up so that I'm not going to take low paying gigs. Now, over the years, there have been some instances where I have taken a lower paying gig, but it's only lower in the actual money, but it was much higher in everything else, for networking potential, for gaining higher paying clients after that, for brand building, and all of those pluses outweighed how much the client was paying me. All right. So I will give a leeway if let's say Lululemon tomorrow comes and says, hey, I want you to write these sales pages or these product descriptions. I'm going to be like, sure. What are your rates? Tell me what your rates are, and I will oblige because I want to have that association with Lululemon, for example. But also it's a give and take. If they want me to do ghostwriting and not have my name affiliated with them, I may be lenient. I may be lenient to that at some point, or I might say, you know what, I can do this, but in the future, will there be other work where I can have bylined work? But typically, if I start at 10 cents, I will work my way up and stay at that, and then work my way up and stay at that kind of thing. The next thing I quit to make more money was to stop waiting for clients to find me. In the beginning, that's all I was doing. I was checking job boards after job boards, pitching and pitching. And, I only got out of the hundreds of pitches, I finally got the one. And then after that, I started getting inquiries from my email. So I was like, well, how did that happen? I realized that during this stint of pitching, I was also guest posting. I also had a blog post. I was also marketing on Twitter and LinkedIn. So I was getting my name out there and realizing that because of that, I was getting leads coming to me. And I found that that was such a better option for me. And I latched onto that. Now, there are going to be freelance writers that maybe you see online through YouTube or other methods where they say you don't need a brand. You really don't need a website. You can get away with a Facebook page. I don't believe in that. I do believe strongly that you have to have some sort of brand so that clients can remember you, that clients can find you online. I know of these other writers from LinkedIn because they have a solid brand. Either it's their tone of voice of how they write their posts, it's their colors that they use in their picture or on their banner, or where they work, what their niche is. All of that tells me the type of brand that they are. And clients look at that as well. And that's an easier way for clients to find you. And also the clients that actually find you and contact you for a writing job usually will pay better than ones that you pitch to. Another huge thing that I recently quit was I stopped landing clients that didn't have a content brief. I ask early on in the negotiation process what their process is for a writer. I usually imply that like after you give me your content brief, I will do X, Y, and Z kind of thing. So I tell that early in the negotiation process. If they tell me, well, I haven't really, I don't have a content brief, is that okay? I will say, no, it's not okay. Some writers will say, well, I'll write it for you. I will develop that process for you. I'm not interested in doing that for clients. I just want to focus on my writing because I have other businesses. I do a lot of other things. I can't really help other businesses with their, back end of stuff at the moment. But other writers don't have all of that. They can focus on that client and help them. But yeah, I will not take on any gigs that don't provide me a content brief. Recently, a client started using Phrase to have their content brief. And so this is what I'm getting now. So now I'm working with Phrase, which is kind of cool because now I can have that as another skill under my belt. And maybe use that in negotiation process. Like I've used Phrase before for my other clients, and this is how we use it. And I've used Asana in another client. So now I have that skill. So I'm learning all these things, but it's all based on the content brief. Another big thing that I quit was to stop taking any and every job out there. I did that early on. For a while, I was writing for a lot of different businesses. I wrote for a dentist clinic before. I've written for a virtual effects company. I've written for a career security site. I've written for social media sites. I've written for email marketing sites. Like I was writing for a lot of different clients in a lot of different niches. And I found that I wasn't really making a lot of money, I just found that I couldn't grow from that. I didn't want to keep picking up more dentist clients and more like meal prepping clients and like all these other clients. Like it was too hard for me. So I had to really focus on one client that I really liked, or the content that I really liked writing about. And that was digital marketing, I found. So I really just sort of leaned into that. And because I was leaning into that, or I was narrowing down my niche, I stopped saying yes to every opportunity. So in the beginning, it's okay if you want to say yes to every opportunity. That can open the doors to finding your true niche or what you really want to write about and the clients that you really want to work with. So I think that's a good opportunity, good learning experience. But I don't want you to stay in that theme, basically. I want you to move on and progress. Another thing that I recently quit, like this month, so I can start making more money as a writer, was to stop writing on Medium. I am not writing on Medium. I may every once in a while just write something just because I'm interested in, but I am not focused on writing on Medium. I am not focused on making money on Medium. Any money that I did make was only like $100. I could not crack that because in order for me to make more money, I had to write hundreds and hundreds of posts. All those posts, I could have made thousands and thousands of dollars with my clients instead of just barely crack $200 or whatever on Medium. So it's not worth it, or it's not worth it for me. I wasn't making money, so I'm not doing that anymore. Another thing that I quit doing as a freelance writer to make more money was networking on X. I used to do a lot of networking on X, and that was really profitable. But over the years, platforms changed. And maybe because when, Twitter became X and Elon took over, things changed perhaps. And so now I find that I get the best networking opportunities on LinkedIn and even Instagram. So I am focusing more on those platforms than I do on X kind of thing. And then this is the last thing that I quit to make more money as a writer, was relying on one source of income. Now, as a freelance writer, you have your freelance income, but because we're online, you can do other things. Another writer that was just a freelance writer recently started digital products. She started a podcast. Now she's writing a book. So I know another freelance writer that has a course as well. There are other opportunities out there that can help you make money. An easy way is maybe even starting like a Substack or like a paid newsletter. This is something that I recently did. And it's another source of income. It's not a lot, but I mean, it's something. So it looks like with my paid newsletter, I've made a total of $648. The stats are low just because I don't market this paid newsletter. If you're interested in this paid newsletter, it's the Freelance Creator Files here. So it's a paid subscription and where I share behind the scenes stuff of my jobs or of challenges that I'm doing. But it is a side income that a lot of other writers can do. I know another one who does Substack, and I think she makes like over $1,000 a month. So Substack might be a better option. If you're interested in that, Christina God is the person to learn from because she talks about Substack for writers. So you can see if you just type in Christina God, she's also prolific on Medium. I don't know if she still is, but I have done a interview here with her. So that was exciting, but she does interview other people, but she does talk about Substack a lot. So you can learn about Substack through her if you want to start making money as a writer and have a different income stream, because like it's fun to have client work and stuff, but you might find that you want to grow as a creator. Like you're creating content for businesses. Why not start creating stuff for your own self, right? And having a newsletter is fun. I think there are lots of writers. One newsletter is just for freelance writing jobs. So Chris Bibby just sources a whole bunch of jobs and then posts them in his newsletter kind of thing. Same thing with another, Caitlin, I think her name is, who does that as well. So there's lots of different ways you can offer value and in exchange get some income from it. All right, let me know in the comments below if any of these resonate with you. Are these things that you're still doing or have you quit? Let me know. Otherwise, check out this video of the one thing I see writers do all the time that is stopping them from making more money as a writer. All right, like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in that video.